Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you all for today's session of Organizational Behavior 2.0, Diversity, Generations, and Hybrid Working Culture. Today, when we are talking about organizational behavior having the two aspects, one is the classroom learning and second is the practice in the corporates. We are finding that when we are talking about the classroom learning, it has been considered as a core subject. But when we are talking about practicing, really it's playing very important role, how we have to understand, how we have to grasp basically the human behavior. Today, to join this panel, the discussion, I'm having on my right Agrawal sir, Professor Agrawal, then Dr. Ankur Soni sir, then Dr. Chetan Chouhan, and Dr. Upma Paliwal. On my left, Dr. Ashish Ghosh is there, Dr. Trupti ma'am is there, and Dr. Amit Tiwari is there, and Dr. Payal Shrivastav is there. Certainly, we are going to explore the better idea, how we can practice it or how we can implement the ideas which are coming from the organizational behavior. First, I would like to invite Dr. Trupti ma'am. Ma'am, please just share your ideas about why we are calling it 2.0. Really, it has been some developments or some upgradation is there from the last version. Really, it is there. Please just share the ideas. Is really what happened and how it is happening.
Okay, so we all know that organizational behavior is a very nascent field in terms of management field, and this has basically come from the human relations movement, where people started understanding the importance of human behavior at work. So when we talk about organizational behavior, the earlier version, we studied about the three main aspects of behavior at work. First is the individual level of behavior, where we discuss and we study how one individual's behavior can be managed in the workplace. The second level is the understanding of how behavior changes when we work in teams. In the groups. So, working in groups, the behavior of people usually changes, and that is a very important field of study that should be done in organizations, which we do normally, traditionally in organizational behavior. At the third level, we study about organizational behavior at the organizational level. So, we discuss things like organizational culture, organizational change management, etc. But when we talk about organizational behavior 2.0, which is what we are discussing today, I think the most important thing is that we need to understand that in coming times and even today, organizational behavior is going through a major shift, where in organizational behavior we will be talking about things like diversity. We'll be talking about generational differences, and we'll be talking about a very new concept which has come into picture from the pandemic time, which is the hybrid work culture.
Hybrid work culture, absolutely right.
So these three points are very important. First of all, diversity. When we talk about diversity, we are talking not only about diversity in terms of gender, but various other kinds of diversity, which are going to pose a very important challenge to the manager. Secondly, when we talk about generational differences, then we need to understand that there are more than 2-3 generations which are working together today in the work culture. And lastly, when we talk about hybrid culture, then we need to understand that when we were working together in proximity, at that time alone, there were many challenges in managing behavior at work. So now when people are not going to be so close physically, when we are working online, offline, and people are widespread, the challenges are going to even more increase. So this is the reason why discussing organizational behavior 2.0 is going to be very crucial for managers, and this is why we have chosen this topic for today's discussion.
Good, ma'am. Very good contribution, right? When we talk about diversity, really is going to be the major challenges in the coming years, right? But at the same time, some misconception is there about the diversity, and at the same time, there are poor perspective about the organizational behavior and the human behavior, how they are reacting in the various kind of a situation when we are working. Trupti ma'am just said it, that we are working in the team, that from the youngsters to our old people, all the kind of people are working together, they are not cooperating with each other, they are not comfortable with each other. I just would like to ask Upma ma'am, please, what kind of a misconception is there about the diversity and the generations? Could you please throw the light on that?
If we describe diversity diversity is something in which after especially COVID time, due to hybrid working models, diversity earlier was only about demographic,
Yes,
mostly it was
yes,
considered,
that is the olden
like
time.
age, gender, or geographical area. But now it is far beyond that. So it is now about the people are working or joining the meeting from different locations, that is beyond the international boundaries, when different generations also are there, their knowledge level would be different, their some of them might have their own startups also, their early previous journeys will be very different, their learning style would be different. So and whatever they have learned from their culture, their country, definitely their communication style will get affected, it will be different. The newer generations and experienced people are working together. Some may rely on their intuition because of their vast experience. Others may be very good at having conversation online, or working using the systems or the computer based things. Also, in the there are different things in the picture, like how they would be managed together, the their learning style, their creative style would be different, and the way they will be solving each other's problems, it will be different according to their previous journeys. So it is diversity is now has converted into cognitive diversity, I would
Absolutely
say.
right, ma'am. Yes, yes. That is the reason we are talking the traditional concept to the latest one, right?
Yes, sir.
The important role is played by the organizational behavior as all kind of a generation. We are starting from the baby boomer to the latest, the Gen Z.
Yes.
Of course, as a team, they are comfortable, they are working together, but the productivity is all the time is challenge. I just would like to invite Professor Samir Agrawal, sir. Basically, how these generations are playing the important role. Really, productivity can be evaluated,
Yes.
or really still managers are facing the problem. Could you please share your...
So firstly, let us understand what is meant by generational dynamics. So generational dynamics is interaction, collaboration, and management of employees working in an organization of different age groups for a common goal. There will be 4 or 5 generational groups will be there who will be working in an organization. They will be having different set of values, working styles, and work culture. When we talk about the age people, there will be different leadership styles, there will be different working culture. So first, let us understand what we are, these generations are. So first is the baby boomers who are born from the year of 1946 to 1965. They are having strong work ethics. They would like to work on old traditional patterns.
But we cannot call them old people, huh? Because I am representing the baby boomers.
That's right. So they sorry for that. So they are having their own lifestyles. They would like to have face-to-face interaction. If we talk about in today's scenario, they are holding the senior leadership positions, or they are at the advisory levels. Then we have Generation X who are born, so Generation X who are born from the year of 1965 to 1980. They are having their own strong work-life balance. They would like to have a bridge between the young people and the old people. They are mostly in the senior middle level or higher level of management level of positions. They would like to interact and make decisions levels. Then we have millennials or Generation Y who are born from the year of 1981 to 1996. They are having high impact, or they are very much on the strong side of impact of relationship with others. They would like to work on hybrid culture or all the old tradition methods also. They are more familiar with the emails also, or the video calls of interview. Most of the workforce at this moment of time in India are Generation X itself. Then we have lastly Generation Z, who are born from the year of 1997 to 2012. They are more of tech savvy, would like to work mostly on hybrid business methods. Their mode of communication are most likely they would like to have their interaction, their assignments, all that things on video calls itself. So there are different sets of people who would like to work on hybrid culture or at the old tradition method, but they are working for a common goal, sir.
Yes. Really, we are trying to achieve the common goal when we are working as a team or in a team, right? But still, we are not on, we cannot say this is the generation gap, but the journey which is happening, right? And Till now we are reaching somewhere. So there are some gaps and all. When we are talking the hybrid working, as Agrawal sir mentioning it, exactly it is given or in this concept came into India during the pandemic. Prior to that, I have seen in the United States, people were working on that. Especially, I have seen the IBM service station. If you have the IBM computers, if you have any kind of a problem, people were calling from their place and just trying to repair it. It was not happening before in India. But nowadays, people are working, right, in hybrid, working from home. It's a very common concept.
That's right.
But really, I just would like to invite Dr. Ankur. Ankur, sir, really, this is working in India? Because as of now, was going through the article in Times of India, they were saying the corporates, the companies are saving money. They are not calling to the employee, to the office premises, rather they are just forcing them to work from the home only. Exactly what's happening?
Thank you, sir. Greetings, everyone. When we talk about OB 2.0, the most visible transformation that we are witnessing these days is shift in work culture. When we talk about shift in work culture, we are specifically talking about hybrid work. When we talk about hybrid work, definitely it has risen a lot after COVID. Previously also, people were working remotely also. If we take example of FMCG industry, pharmaceutical industry, their frontline salespeople were working off the office or
Yes, absolutely right.
the task that we call as on-field assignments.
On field working, yes.
But post-COVID, what has happened? The hybrid work culture has adopted strongly by IT companies in India, and if we talk about at a global level nowadays, 92% of large companies have included hybrid work into their work policies. And this hybrid work culture adoption is growing at the rate of 18 to 19% annually. And if we talk about India, 53% of large organizations have formally adopted hybrid work culture.
That's a good achievement, yes.
So clearly, it represents a significant shift in how we, as an organization, designing the work, managing it, organizing it, and evaluating it ultimately. Right? So, when we get into the detail of hybrid work, what normally happens is people in the organization are working from the corporate office. Sometimes they work from their home. They may be working from co-working spaces, and most importantly, they will be working at a digital platform, because technology is something which is actually binding the work itself.
Yes.
Previously, we were in the physical proximity and coordination was very easy. Now, it is the technology only which is making the work in a most collaborative manner.
Absolutely right.
And what happens when we go into the functioning of it? People work from the office for 2 to 3 days, and then they work remotely for 2 to 3 days. So what happens is it gives them a lot of flexibility, autonomy, and the perceptions are being changed. Initially, we were physically monitoring employees. Now that has shifted to trust-based evolution, where more trust has come into picture.
And those are absolutely right when you talk about the people are working on the trust base. Now, when you talk about supervision of their performance, really is going to be the challenge. We are talking about this hybrid productivity paradoxes. I just would like to invite Dr. Ashish Ghosh. Exactly when we talk about the productivity, all the time, being a professional organization, we cannot work on trust base. All the people are not very good, right? There might be the breach of contract, right? The trustworthiness is not there. People are not working. They are saying, because a lot of cases has been, revealed in this kind of a thing. Sir, could you please throw the light on that exactly? When we talk the hybrid productivity paradoxes, exactly what are those and how we are implementing it?
Thank you, Owais, sir. And most of my work has been covered by Ankur in terms of hybrid work. But the thing that you have asked is about the paradox. The paradox, it's a very hot topic, and recently it has come into existence since 2019. The paradox exactly means a contradictory statement. It contradicts from what the thing is actually, but it exists. This is what it is. In this paradox, hybrid, this productivity paradox in this situation, what happens is that the individual productivity metrics, though that increases, and on the other side, the overall organizational productivity that decreases or it remains stagnant.
Yes.
Which is basically that. And when we talk about the decline or the stagnation, it is based upon the three factors. One is the collaboration, second is the innovation, and third is the culture. Basically, it talks about those things. I will prove this statement through some very interesting data also that has come recently to the studies. But before that, I move into the data. The four factors what this paradox measures is the output, the efficiency, the innovation, and the work quality. These are the four factors that is being measured in through this paradox. Now, coming to the some very core data and the findings that has come recently. One is called, there are four different, you can say, segments. One is called the perception gap. The perception gap is basically a study done by Microsoft recently on 20,000 of its employees across the world that they have done. Very confusing type of figures that come. That's why the name paradox. In this, 87% of the employees, they feel they are more productive while working at home. And the managers feel, 80% of the managers feel that the actual performance has declined. That is one of the paradox. And the second is hours versus output. That has also been measured into this. By this hybrid culture, 8% of the work days had increased, and 18% increase in after hours work.
Good. Very interesting results.
So these are very startling facts that has come from this some recent studies. Then the third is the retention. 33% of the employees, they are less likely to quit when working in this type of environment.
Work from home, yes.
This is the retention benefit that they have. And fourth, again a very startling fact called as the manager disconnect. And this has recently come in 2024 when it was measured that in hybrid setups, the productivity in 2024 was around 62%. And in 2023, it was 79%. So it has come down again. This is what. And while on the same hand, when the employees reporting the productivity, that was 90%. Employees said 90%, but actually it has come to 63%. In 23, when measured, it was 79%. So these are some of the very startling facts, and that is what most of the companies' policies are nowadays centered around this.
That's a productive side, basically. All the time, we must say. Good. Yes, as Ashish said, you were mentioning about this thing only. Nowadays, most of the companies are preferring the hybrid. They are having the offline and online, both the things are happening. And that all the people have been trained in such a way that they can work in both the sides. Initially, it was not happening. Only those who are well conversant with the technology only, they were working offline or online. But nowadays, it's not at all happening. Anyway, and then one more thing which I just would like to highlight is about that there are some changes in behavior. A lot of complaints are coming, right? Some productive side also, some positive side also, some negative side also. Dr. Chetan, I just would like to check with you exactly what kind of behavioral changes are happening when people are working on a hybrid environment, right? And especially in the generations also, because a lot of all the generation, as Dr. Agrawal mentioned to us, right, working together and trying to achieve the common objectives, right? But what kind of behavioral changes You have studied a lot. You were mentioning me the other day that you have gone through an article and video also, right? You were just showing that I'm just slipped from my mind that some name was there video. Could you please elaborate on that?
Yes, first of all, thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity. As far as challenges are concerned, there are four major challenges. Study has been shows that 40% of employees are feels disengaged, and 28% managers feels that they are hurt. They are not able to lead the team. As far as second biggest challenges are communication and collaboration in virtual team. Virtual teams feels that they reduce the emotional connection about the team members, as well as few examples are there. Few studies has been shown that a few companies are very much in difficult situations to collaborate with the virtual teams. I would not take the names of the particular company because this is not the correct way. But few sectors, telecom sectors and IT sectors, are facing this problem to collaboration in the virtual team. The next is employee well-being. Is also a very biggest challenge to work-life boundaries. New generations are talking about the work-life boundaries. As well as study shows, 84% employees are facing the low moods, and 59% are suffering from anxiety also, and few employees have many sleeping issues also over there. As far as last but not the least, the ethical behavior and digital responsibility. This is also a very huge challenge, sir. To facing this kind of challenges, companies are really in a struggle to how to face, what was the solution among these employees, and digital security. Key few sectors are also, sir. They are not fully adopted this OB 2.0. Due to these sectors are manufacturing, MSMEs, few companies are not adopting. They are still adopting some part of that, not fully adoptable. Yeah, fully automated overall. This thing.
Well said, Chetan sir. Really, this is happening. You have mentioned in your saying that about the emotional kind of a things.
Right.
Really, this is not happening, but I'll hold the responsible to the community leaders,
Yeah.
to the corporate leaders.
Yeah.
I just would like to invite Dr. Tiwari because he has been doing a lot of study and all, right? Dr. Tiwari, would you please explain to us exactly what kind of changes are happening in the leadership scenario?
Okay. So, Shukriya Qureshi ji, first of all, to make me a member of this panel discussion, because from last 28 years, I am observing the industry very closely. And I hope this is what we are doing to the future leaders or to the industries.
Yeah.
So I may express my feeling in my words. That is what the permission which I need from you. When we talk about leadership, so leadership, when it comes to our mind, we just study many stories about the successful leaders. Uh, I don't want to name any one of them, but all successful people are leaders. So basically, when we start defining leadership, it begins with success. Means a person is a successful leader, then only we call him as a leader. And when we define the definition of the success, this definition of success begins when the revenue which company is getting, the market share which has been increasing. So there are certain parameters which has been designed as far as the success is concerned. And we start calling him and we start discussing, okay, this is what the strategy, this is what they do. And then the many story comes, like Sholay become hit movie. Now everyone start appreciating every actor, every technician and everyone.
Yeah,
so this is something which clearly defined as far as leadership is concerned. But now, does leadership is only about success? When we start talking about leadership, people start talking about the value system which the organization has created, the ethics, the morale, the trust-based leadership which Ankur sir is talking about, or you talk about many things. Is this what leadership is all about? Only in terms of measuring, we define leadership as. So I realize in today's scenario, this concept has been totally changed. We are not judging the leadership on the basis of success. This is what organization have to think about. They have to, the value system, एक व्यक्ति ने एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर क्या वैल्यू सिस्टम क्रिएट किया, मोरालिटी कितनी डेवलप करी, ह्यूमन वैल्यूज को कितना केयर किया, हम हैप्पीनेस इंडेक्स पे बात करने लगे। तो आज के दौर में सर मुझे लगता है कि हमको हमारे लीडरशिप के नापने के पैमानों पे चेंज लाने की जरूरत है, उनको देखने के बदलते तरीकों की जरूरत है। और मुझे लगता है कि नए दौर में शायद हम इस तरीके की लीडरशिप पे ज्यादा बात करेंगे, रादर देन नंबर्स के बारे में, रादर देन ग्रोथ के बारे में, रादर देन मार्केट शेयर के बारे में। तो ऐसे लीडर्स शायद निकल के आएंगे जो वाकई में एक नई लीडरशिप इस कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर के अंदर खड़ी करने में सफल हो पाएंगे। So this is what my opinion, sir.
Absolutely right, Dr. Tiwari. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your valuable opinions about that thing. Really, if leadership is there, leadership is working, we are talking about creative leadership, really the organization can change like anything, which we say in corporate language, 360-degree change. It is possible. But there are two engine drivers, climate and the culture. These two things are playing very important role. Right? If we are unable to do, if any corporate is unable to maintain these kind of things, really there is a problem. I just would like to, Dr. Payal Shrivastav, who is having the expertise in these topics, could you please elaborate on us exactly? Because we have the multinational organization kind of experience. You have been working abroad also, right? So please share your opinion.
Thank you, Qureshi sir, for giving me this platform. In fact, I would like to take forward Tiwari sir's conversation only. He was quite apt that whenever we talk about an organization, yeah, whenever even we are discussing an organization, हम usually discuss किस तरह की organizations करते हैं, the ones who are successful. And success के पीछे typically the parameters are, we are always talking about the strategy, we are always talking about the technology, or we are talking about the leadership. This is what makes an organization successful.
Right.
But sometimes we fail to understand something which is much more subtle, which is lying beneath all this, which we very loosely term it as culture, organizational culture. To be honest, it is till date very difficult to define what organizational culture is. But whatever conversation has happened here so far, be it leadership perspective of Tiwari sir, be it Trupti ma'am's preliminary understanding of what is the shift to Office 2, or rather Ghosh sir's conversation on productivity paradox, whatever we are talking about, ultimately everything boils down to that it all needs to be implemented in an organization. And that is something which can happen only through cultural transformation. So I would like to begin by reiterating what exactly organization culture is. The traditional definition of organization culture is, it is a shared system of beliefs, norms, values, primarily behavioral norms, which help people in the organization, yeah, rather they guide people in the organization with respect to how they interact with their peers, colleagues, superiors, how they take decisions, and most importantly, how they approach their work. So to put it in layman's language, organization culture is basically how things are done here. This is what culture depicts, how things are done here. And traditionally, if we take a look at this word, how things are done here, it was usually communicated via physical proximity and shared spaces. In fact, right now we are in teaching fraternity. We all till date meet with each other every single day. So probably for us as an institution, the culture has been communicated or permeated primarily through the shared spaces, primarily through these kind of conversations that we have,
Absolutely.
either with our colleagues or with our superiors. So first, let's try to get this traditional understanding of culture. The traditional understanding culture की यही है कि how things are done here, और वो traditionally communicate होता आया है primarily through shared workspaces and physical proximity. However, as Trupti ma'am primarily guided us towards this entire discussion, now we are seeing a shift towards Office 2. I would not say hybrid workplace, but a shift towards Office 2. That means a new kind of organization which is now being defined by hybrid workplaces, secondly being defined by a multi-generational workforce, and lastly an organization which is primarily being driven by digital platforms. So when we have this kind of setup, how much can we actually rely on the traditional idea of passing down the culture, that means through shared workspaces? So I personally feel the most critical question in today's aspect is this. Now we need to start understanding that organizational culture cannot be communicated in an organic manner.
Yes.
Now it needs to be a lot more intentional, both in terms of design as well as how it is communicated. So I personally feel this is the starting point. This is where we should think about organizational culture, and then we can gradually build upon within that framework how we take each aspect. My
Yes,
submission
ma'am,
is this.
absolutely right, absolutely right. Well said, your thoughts are really. But here, when we are talking about organizational behavior, when we are talking about in practice, especially because our concern ultimately is that because corporates, how it is going to be implemented. Really, are we facing any kind of a challenges? I would just request the staff team, could you please just add on something, really what kind of a challenges some are we facing?
So there are many challenges that we will be facing as managers in the coming times because of the OP 2.0 that we are discussing here. The first challenge that I see is in terms of managing these diverse kind of people that we have. Understanding the work values of these diverse people is very important for all of us, and need to understand what is going to motivate them, because what motivates the generation
That's
Z
important, yes.
is not going to motivate the millennials. So understanding and tailoring the reward system, for example, is very important. That is what is going to keep them with you, because they are not bound to a particular organization. They are actually more loyal to their own needs and their own requirements. So having that particular thing is very important for any manager to understand. So that is going to be one very important challenge which I feel, in terms of the reward structures, how you're going to manage the reward structures, how you're going to motivate the people at workplace. That is one particular challenge. Apart from that, another challenge that I feel is how are you going to measure the productivity, the performance of people when they are working in hybrid work culture. So measuring performance is going to be very difficult. Another important challenge that I feel, which is related to this, is using technology, and with the help of technology, how we'll be able to change the workplace and the work culture.
Yeah.
So with the coming up of AI and robots in the workplace, the workplace is going to drastically change in the future, and we need to understand that the productivity will have to be measured in a different manner now.
Yeah.
So performance and productivity is again going to be a very big challenge. That is what I feel.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Really, we are talking about that. Mama, I just would like to ask you once again, right? When we talk about the diversity in concept, really, what kind of applications are there? What kind of ideas we are implementing it so that we can increase the productivity, as Dr. Ma'am was mentioning to us? Because ultimately, it's a concern to the productivity. Wherever people are working, if productivity is not there, if changes are not happening, a progressive way is not happening, so really, question mark on this new concept.
Yes.
Can you please suggest us?
I agree to this, and as Ashish sir also talked about the paradox, that productivity, when it was checked in the 2 consecutive years, it dropped. So the one thing which has come into the picture after this hybrid model has started working, that is now there is a need, and companies have started using machines, like the softwares to be installed in the laptop, so that the tracking can be done, that whether the employee is sitting continuously there. So it is not a work which is done together in a physical proximity in the office nowadays. It is in different locations getting done simultaneously. So the machines usage has, or softwares have come into the picture, through which the productivity at one level is being checked through there, or on a regular basis continuously. And second is obviously performance appraisal systems are there in place in the companies. The performances are target driven nowadays at most of the places. So the role of softwares have come into the picture, I would say.
Because always there is a scope. With the help of the technology, we can
Yes.
go for the improvisation.
Yes.
Right. Samir sir, I just would like to once again, when we are talking about this generation dynamics, exactly, when 3, 4 generations are working together, right, in a different kind of a roles. Do we have any more ideas so that they can work together as a team? They can mutual cooperation can be increased like that.
Yes, sir. There are various ways through which the companies are doing whatever the gaps is being. First, come down to the communication part. First, come down to the communication part that has been taking place in the companies. People like baby boomers are using the old traditional methods, and whereas Gen Z would like to go for video calls and all that stuff. If we take an example of first largest hardware company which has introduced a program where if the employees is going to leave their organization, they can detect it. They are wherever you are feeding in any kind of feedback, they will be getting the answers for that, and it becomes easy for a manager to change their work roles so that the employees can perform better or the predictions of the future part. Like whenever the employees are going to leave, you can have a recruitment of them. Then there come down the second part is the work culture that you are going to work on. Like after the corona has been happened upon, and we have talked about, Ankur sir has talked about like hybrid models we are working about. The world largest software company have introduced in India the hybrid mode, which is having their headquarters in Bangalore. They are having the offices where you can work at any place wherever you would like to. You can have 3 days working from the office or 3 days working from the home also. Then we have the world largest music company, which is having you can do your work any place. You have to work, as Madam has pointed out, like softwares are being there where you can sit in front of them. You have to complete your work. So, sir, there are lots of things are being happening upon, but you have to maintain a workforce or a generational gap. You have to maintain that. It becomes the leadership, like as sir has pointed out. It is a leader who can make a difference over there. You are maintaining a proper communication, then baby boomers or Gen Z, they will work for a common goal and institutional will progress.
Very good, sir. Ankur sir, Samisha is also mentioning and Tiwari sir also mentioning about the leadership and this thing. When we are talking about this dynamics in generation dynamics, where he spoke about the baby boomer and the Gen Z. So what does it mean? If particular person employee is not the computer savvy, right, or high tech savvy, right, not knowing the lot of software and technology, is out from the market?
Sir, not at all. I don't think so. Even if we talk about multiple generations, we are in the era of technology.
I'm talking about the hybrid environment, right?
Absolutely. Continuing with that only, without technology, nothing will work because the future belongs to technology only. I would like to explain this in terms of hybrid work, what it does for us in terms of organizational productivity, efficiency, and what complexity it produces. So when we talk about benefits, it has definitely given all the employees a lot of autonomy and flexibility of work. It has also increased the productivity. We have talked about productivity paradox as well, which happens to become a challenge for us. Secondly, it provides access to the global talent to the company now because the people, employees can work from remote areas also. And lastly, what it has done is it has reduced cost to the companies, which is unquestionable. Companies have reduced cost in terms of real estate investments, office space investments, things like that. So now what is happening? The challenges are like Amit sir explained in terms of leadership. I have talked about culture and we discussed paradox also. Challenge is communication gap and collaboration. Since people do not work in proximity, the communication gaps are definitely there, which makes collaboration difficult. Secondly, we also talked about Microsoft's survey,
Yes.
which is done across 31 countries. In that, approximately 73% employees prefer to work in flexible hybrid system.
Yes. Yes.
And 66% of managers as of now are trying to redesign their offices in such a manner that collaboration, creativity,
Can be accommodated.
social interaction and
Yes.
team bonding can happen. So these are the challenge as well because since we are talking about not working in physical proximity, So these challenges are there. At the same time, considering these challenges, companies are creating offices wherein people are able to come for social interaction, team bonding, so that they can collaborate also, they can innovate and overcome these challenges. Ultimately, what will happen in future is we'll see this hybrid work ever growing. This will keep on growing and we'll find the ways to collaborate, to transfer the sustainable culture and various methods to resolve these issues.
Absolutely right, sir. Thank you, sir. Really, when we are just adopting the hybrid culture, really it's very good for all the corporates. They are not only making the profits, rather they are able to sustain the employee team, right? Dr. Ghosh, you were talking about the paradoxes. Could you please share with us exactly what kind of implementation and some latest things are happening in applying the paradoxes?
Fine. See, I will talk about, I will stress upon one very important factor.
Please.
And based upon that, certain cases had been also done. So I will come to the cases later on. The first, there are basically the five, you can say, factors which makes hybrid productivity paradoxes. The first is your collaboration. The second is the communication, and third is the monitoring, or that monitoring of the employees. Fourth is the security lapses, and fifth, which is one of the most important, and most of the particularly the IT companies which are into this hybrid mode of this working, they are into every day and every time and out there into this. And that is basically, that is called as the employee isolation and mental
Yes.
health issues.
Yeah.
This is the fifth parameter, one of the most important, and this results into basically the reduced team engagement and loneliness, and the third is the a lower motivation. So this things came from those studies, and now I would like to make the panel will share some of the cases on which this studies were done. The first and the case there are many cases. The important one was done by TCS. So I will tell you what they did also. The problems were there, the challenges were there, and how they overcome those challenges. Basically, the background of this case is that TCS works under a digital platform called as SBWS. That is basically Secure Borderless Work Spaces. That is the platform. And in that they use 25 into 25 model. 25 into 25 model in a very layman understanding, we call it as by 2025, only 25% at a time will work in office. And of the whole of the employee, of the whole of the working, that in a year, only 25% will be in the office.
75%
In terms of
they will be.
amount of work also, only 25%. So this is called as the 25-25 model that they uses. And though it had many advantages, so advantages most of us have gone through those advantages, but regarding this case, the challenge was there were three factors that was the challenges. The first was with the new employees. The new employees, because it was very hard to learn remotely.
Right.
At remote locations, the learning is very difficult.
Very difficult,
The
yes.
second is the collaboration, and the third one was the culture. Culture were affected. This collaboration and culture or bonding, whatever you can say, in the another case of Infosys also, this thing has come, the challenge that they faced. Now, though there were many challenges and all those things, but how did they overcome it? The issue is our discussion is, my discussion is on the how did they overcome it. So what they implemented, they slowly implemented. Now I think that they are into that 3 days work from office, and the managers, they themselves make their rosters and based upon the project needs, and what the leadership had said to them when these challenges were observed, that more and more training and development, the L&D, sorry, the learning and development, as well as the teamwork that should happen in the office. So this is one of the very startling facts that came up from these cases. It represents that paradox, how they overcome those paradoxes.
Really, Doctor. Thank you so much. Really, this is happening. Really, we need this kind of extraordinary work and initiatives on, then we can only improve it. Chetan sir, I just would like to ask you one thing. You have mentioned about the well-beingness of the employees, right? And here, mental health, Dr. Ghosh was talking about exactly. Is there any correlation between two?
Yes, sir. There is a special relationship between both of them.
Please, just share with us.
Many companies are doing take care for their employees. They provide training. They provide work-life balances. They have introduced their in policies. As far as 2.0 is concerned, the organizations are in a very much situation that they have to adopt the technology to remains in the market as the upper age. Every organization has to adopt this new technology.
That's important. Dr. Tiwari, credit or debit goes to the leadership if we are not adopting this kind of environment as suggested by Dr. Chetan.
In my first session, I raised a number of questions as far as leadership is concerned. And in very brief, I'm going to tell the 6 important pointers through which this leadership issues can be addressed. So the first thing is, in modern era, we can say, this leadership, earlier it was more of control.
Right.
Now it needs to be that the leader should empower the people, those who are working with him. So first thing which I control to empowerment. This is what my first point is. The second is from physical supervision to trust-based leadership, which Dr. Ankur talks about. Because trust is something which I realize is very essential when you are working in a team. So this is what we are expecting from the future leaders, that they should be taken care of. Third, from leadership, now the scenario has been changing to collaborative leadership. Because what happened, we start telling the stories of the leader, and the role which every individual or the stakeholders plays are not being recognized, and somehow it is not creating a good culture which Dr. Payal talks about in the organization. Fourth, from authority to emotional intelligence. Nowadays, this is something which every organization is thinking of, about their people, about their mental wellness, about their well-being, the happiness index in the organization, which I raised in my first also. And a mindset is also from local to global. This is also we are expecting from the leader, because what happened, leaders are limiting themselves. That is not being expected from them. And finally, when we are taking or making any form of decision, it is very essential to justify that decision. And I realize, because everyone nowadays talks about AI or data, so that decision will be supported, and we are able to set up an objective behind that decision, that why and how we reach to that decision. And this is what I realize is being expected from the leadership. That's it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tiwari. Really, you mentioned about some AI, right? I just would like to ask Dr. Payal. Really, proximity is creating some kind of a hurdle in hybrid working, really playing some important role on that.
Sir, whenever we talk about any new change, it's always a two-edged sword. It can be a hurdle. It can actually be beneficial. Yes, definitely. If we talk about traditional traditional understanding of organizational culture, it is primarily driven through physical proximity. Jahan pe we often come across the word called proximity bias, which means if you are not visible to me, then probably you are not performing. And this is how our traditional performance measurement matrix were actually designed. Primarily, they were centered more around visibility. So yes, I would say the traditional performance measurement matrix were like this. But now, ever since the shift to hybrid work culture, in fact, we have seen many organizations actually changing their performance measurement matrix. Now it is a more individual task result output oriented. Again, this is again a two-edged sword. When you start thinking of performance too much in numbers, then there are high chances that you are only looking at numbers. You might actually, there is a possibility that you might actually be ignoring the efforts or the amount of resources that are going behind it. So as I said, everything is a two-edged sword. Ultimately, we have to draw out a balance. We need to figure out a system which makes sure that there is per se as much elimination of proximity bias that can happen, but at the same time, it should not be too heavily number-driven system wherein an individual's personality and individual's presence simply does not make difference. So it can always be considered as a two-edged sword. I personally believe it.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you so much. Really, now with this saying, like, come to the conclusion about this thing, come to the end of this discussion. Really, in organizational behavior, a lot of scope is there, especially for all the education fraternity. Being teaching at the MBA institutions, we have very important role to play. And really, if we want, we can do a lot of things about to get the, in creation and creativity and development and latest ideas about this thing in organizational behavior. Really, I'm thankful to you, right? On behalf of my audience, would like to submit my thanks to all the panelists for your valuable contribution, your opinion, insightfulness. Thank you so much.